Is Friday, September 9th, 2022. I went to a Charlotte Mason meeting last night, and one of the things that they talked about was this book called The Commonplace. And Charlotte Mason would encourage every single one of her students to have this commonplace book. And it's a place where you bring everything together. Because when God has something for you, he's going to give you it from, like you're going to see it. And sometimes I always thought like like when you decide you're going to put a deck in and all of a sudden you see decks everywhere and there's no way they put all of them up overnight. You just didn't notice it. It wasn't in your, what is that called, purview or whatever. It wasn't something that you were watching for. And now that you realize that it's there, you see it everywhere, So putting things together in your commonplace about how, this Bible verse and then this person said that and then this came up at church or whatever, like even if they read about it at the library, the little kids library group or whatever. Oh, that's what I missed. That was yesterday. Anyway, so the commonplace. So yesterday, before the group got started, several of the ladies were talking about this doctor that they've been going to. And I'm quietly listening. And then I turned to the one lady and I was like, I would love to pick your brain about the costs of all of this. And she looks at me and she's like, why? And I go, because everything that you're talking about is things that I've learned over the last 10 years. And I don't know exactly what your body needs. I'm not supposed to, but I have a basic understanding of how the body works and that it all works together. And you use homeopathy, which is confusing. And I didn't say this to her, but I was like, how do I say it? We were not created to be befuddled by ourselves. He made us wholly and completely, and we are capable of paying attention to ourselves. We are. We don't need to do whatever we want and then expect somebody that has a degree to step in and fix us, in my opinion. I mean, I recognize that that's exactly what I did for the longest time and why I was so frustrated and sad and tired and exhausted and depressed, because I was under the impression that these things that I enjoyed doing were okay for me to do because I enjoyed them. And no one ever taught me. It never connected to me that these behaviors and these choices were causing these consequences. And when I did realize that, I stopped some and I became okay with other consequences, but that's life. And everybody is different and everybody is different. And we have an entire profession of people. And I'm not saying doctors are bad. Please don't take that. My husband does that too. And when I tried to say all this to him this morning, he was like, you think everybody needs to? And I was like, I don't think everybody needs to know exactly where, your gallbladder and your liver connect. But if you have a general idea where, or what it even does, most people don't even know what it even does, if you have a general idea of how to support it, if you have this, or if this comes up, it's like with everything that's happening here. I don't feel like it's important for everybody to know everything because it's not. It's not. But if you are put in this situation, having the coping skills to get out of that situation, I feel are super important. And they're going to be different for everybody. So one lady, very sweet lady, oh my gosh, she is just genuinely happy. And I was like, you're amazing. I want you in my life. Because everything was wonderful. I could use a cheerleader, maybe he'll rub off on me and I can be more like that. But she was offering up all these different solutions to somebody who is doing this thing because their doctor said so. And she's like, have you ever tried this? Have you ever tried this? Have you ever tried this? And she goes, well, I tried that for a while. And I'm talking months, not like she tried it twice, right? And then one she had tried for 2 years. And then she just quit for whatever reason. And I was like, yeah, it's hard to keep track of everything, that's for sure. But I don't know. it's important for us to not grow lazy. And then later on in the night, we were all sharing funny stories about how we had shared this great wisdom with somebody, and then not even 6 weeks later, they're having to share that great wisdom back with us because we forget. So if our conversations were more about how to help everybody stay where they need to be and help bring them up, if we were just a positive influence on each other's lives instead of a tripping, if we could help instead of enable, but I don't always know where that line is. But if I have my boundaries set because I know who I am and who I was made to be, this is another thing I'm doing. It's called boundaries.me. Henry Cloud. So if I have my boundaries set, if I know who I was made to be, it's super easy to set my boundaries. This is acceptable. This is not acceptable. Like, I understand that you have chosen that alcohol is an option to relax. Well, I have small children, and I understand that I don't get as good of sleep when I've had alcohol. I am not opposed to alcohol. I do not think alcohol is bad. I'm just wondering if you understand, you seem to be really, really tired throughout your day and looking forward to your alcohol more than your sleep, maybe what's going on, so I don't need to sit there and tell them alcohol thins out your blood and restricts your vascular system. And I did do that before. Don't get me wrong. I did. But it does. It restricts your vascular system, which makes it harder for you to get good sleep. You have a less exchange, blah, 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 blah. The fact of the matter is you aren't going to get as good of sleep with alcohol as you would without. That's a fact. And then your body is also going to have to recover from that to move on to the next thing. So you're already starting your day at a deficit energy-wise. So let's talk about why, let's have a conversation, because I love you and I don't have the answer. I don't, but I can hear, I can listen. And most times people know what they need, So anyway, so taking responsibility, the other thing was they could tell me the name of what they were taking, but they didn't know what it did. And I was just, okay, I have a problem with expectations, right? So I'm in this group of amazing women that have a higher understanding than I do about habits and about Charlotte Mason and about presenting a feast to your children, but they're all also very humble, and they admit that we understand that we don't know everything. And then I said, you can't do everything. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like I agree with everything you're saying, and there's this awesome deeper level of this, and I'm not. Anyway, it's fine. Moving on. So they were talking about what they were taking. If they didn't know what it was, what it did, they said it was for this. And I'm like, oh, well, what does it do? Is it supporting the rest of your system and making it an inhospitable environment? I love that they're talking about the biome and how important it is, because we're more bacteria and viruses and fungi than we are ourselves. If you took all of our cells and broke them down, there's less ones with Lori DNA than there are the others, and probably way less right now with everything that's going on in my life. But having a balanced biome is kind of like walking a tightrope. You don't set it once and you're done. You have to be constantly aware, So, the simple things like fermented foods, that sugar is a treat and not a mainstay, that you're properly hydrated, which looks different for everybody, but that you're intentional and pursuing, and, just pay attention and do what you can. Responsibility, take responsibility, right? So when I was talking to my husband, I felt a little met with resistance. And I was like, well, I think that you're saying, I feel like where you're coming from is that I need to know how to set a bone. No, I do not need to set a bone. Although I would love to know how to do that. No, I don't think that the majority of people do. But I do think that the basics, of you don't even need to understand about what nutrition is. I think that if you like took a week and ate cookies and cake and cupcakes and smoothies, or smoothies would be like the healthiest thing you had, right? And all of these things, like full fruit, use ice cream smoothies, that's the kind, whatever those are called, shakes or whatever, and see how you feel at the end of that week. You're going to feel like junk, probably way before the week is over, especially if you're older. But then what if you try this, start out your day with eggs and sausage, start out your day with oatmeal, if that's what your body needs. Like, try these different things for a week and treat your body like this amazing experiment. I've really noticed that when I wake up in the morning and I have a big old glass of water first thing, my whole day just goes better. I've also noticed that when I wake up, I thank God and have those types of a conversation. Oh, my whole day's better too. All right. I love you. Have a beautiful